Hello everyone, we are back and we are going to be talking about our Gaussian or our normal distribution. So one of the most common distributions that you'll encounter, and you'll see a lot of times that we will gather data and you'll encounter experiments and systems that behave Gaussian. So normal distribution, bell curve, those are some of the common names that we'll look at that system. So the Gaussian is a curve that looks like, again, a bell curve. But we want to now start to move, we want to move from looking at these histograms in terms of counts, and instead we want to start to look at probabilities. So what is the probability effectively that we can obtain a certain range of measurand X values? So one of the things that we do is we are going to represent that Gaussian and rewrite it as a probability density function. And so you can see this is our Gaussian or our PDF, our probability density function for our normal distribution, our Gaussian distribution. So it's a function of x, which is our measurand, and two fitting parameters, the population mean and the population standard deviation. So this is it. Now, when we look at our distribution, or if we look at our Gaussian, it will be centered. So we have our PDF, and we will have some measurand x, and it will be centered. The Gaussian is centered around whatever the mu is, and the width of that is effectively our standard deviation. So larger standard deviation, more spread in the data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the probability density function doesn't allow us to say, well, if I have a particular x, this is the probability. That's not how this function works. Instead, we're going to say if I have some bound x sub 1 and I have some other bound x sub 2, I could find the probability of this function. I could find the probability of finding a measurement that falls between x1 and x2 by taking the area under this curve, or by effectively integrating this function. So one of the cool things is the Gaussian is symmetric. Another thing, what is the probability that I can measure something, a measurand from minus infinity to infinity? Well, that probably better be 1, right? Because we need to have some measurand that, the bounds must be between minus infinity to infinity. So the measurand has to fall in there. So you can actually integrate this function, and you can do that either in R, or you can do this kind of symbolically and a little bit more simply in Mathematica as well. So there are two ways essentially you can do this, and actually we can confirm this. Let's start in R, but we'll also build up in Mathematica as well, because this is where, again, these computational tools are very effective. So let's go ahead, let's see which one, whoever starts up first wins. And there we go. So I'm going to start up a new page, a new script. So we can actually take our, actually, not our R, but, so we can look at distribution, our normal distribution, d-norm. And you can look at our d-norm, and it gives you essentially a mean of 0, standard deviation of 1. And that's going to be our typical value that we can use to look at basically different measurands of x. So you can see it's the same function that we've looked at. Now, the nice part about d-norm is that we could actually integrate. So I could integrate that function d-norm, and we're going to just leave it with those typical values, and we're going to integrate it from minus infinity to infinity, and hopefully this is 1. 1, and we've got it. We can also set this up in Mathematica. So I've got my, basically we can say the PDF, and we can set that equal to, we can look back over here, basically 1 divided by sigma times square root of 2 times pi. Let me make sure we got that correct. Yep, and then exponential times exponential of minus x minus mu. I believe that's squared, all of this divided by 2 times sigma squared. If my memory serves me correct. Yep, that's what it is. And then we will also we can define here that our mu is equal to 0, our SD, or mu is equal to 0, our sigma equals 1, and we can get that value, and then I can integrate this function, PDF, from x from minus infinity to infinity and beyond, and we get that to be equal to 1. So this is very useful, and we're going to see why that is in a second. You can rewrite this function, and actually we're going to observe, what that is, because you can get those values. But that is how we're going to utilize this probability density function. So we are going to find bounds where we expect to find a certain percentage of our data set. And that's really a critical aspect of it. And again, these bounds, these percentages, that's what's going to be happening. Another cool thing here is we're going to talk a little bit about outliers. We have to include outliers in our data set, but you can disregard a point as illegitimate if the data point exceeds 3 sigma of your distribution. So you can remove that when you do your subsequent analysis, but we have to show that still on our chart. So that is our definition of an outlier. So if we're greater than 3 sigma, so if we have a measurand that basically deviates, if our measurand x is equal to x bar plus or minus 3 sigma, then that measurand is not going to, that's an outlier. So although it technically again, exceeds 3 sigma, so but you can see that tipping point there. Now, we can make this a little bit more, again, to actually solve it, so you see we had to assume values of mu and sigma, but we can substitute in, and we're going to assume that this guy is just a value here as well. We can do a replacement and set that sigma to 1 in our expression and write this as a function of z, where z is defined in terms of those variables here. And this function will allow us essentially to do those measurements similar to what we just did previously, to see those effectively the values of z, which allow us to estimate where we're going to find certain percentages of our data set. So, for example, and we can do this in Mathematica and we'll confirm with R. Let's say I find a 95% confidence interval. What that means is I need to find what are my intervals of x, or effectively here, this is effectively our z value. We could actually just plug this in here, z. What are our values of z that allow us to find 95% of our data? Well, if I want the bounds, meaning that they are basically symmetric, I can go ahead and say solve. When does this integral, in terms of minus, I'm just going to put some variable x, plus or minus x, when does it equal 0.95? So when do I expect to find 95% of my data? And you see it's 1.96. We can actually confirm this value. So we can go for a minus 1.96 to 1.96 here. Again, solve is a lot harder in R than it is with Mathematica, but you can see 95% of our data will hold here. So this is great. And then if I wanted 90% of my data, you see I have basically a shorter range, or basically my x values are smaller. If I need larger, should increase. So that should make sense to us all, hopefully. Now, this is great. And sometimes, again, you can always do this, again, with basically mathematically, but you can also use these things called the z-tables. So the z-table, if you choose to go this route, you can see the area under the curves here. But what we're calculating here is, depending on the value of z, and we start here, and then we read in the second decimal place. So first, second. So I can find from 0 to z the integral there. So if I want to find 95% of my data, you see there's no 95 here. But remember, we're symmetric. So if I want to find 95% of my data, I need to find where is this integral 0.45. And we see it's right here. And where is that? Here we go. Or 95% of my data would be 0.475. So we see here 1.9. This is 0.475. Let's zoom in. I know it's a little bit, but trust me. And then 1.96 right here. So we found our 95% confidence interval with the z-table. And the same thing for, I mistakenly did for point 0.4, basically 0.45. So in between here, 1.64, 1.65, again, approximately. And so you could do the same thing. And you could use the z-table as well. Or you could use Mathematica, or you can use, R is a little bit harder to do. And we're going to get into some examples right now and how we can actually apply this and how we can solve. So we'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.